Welcome to Chalk Talk, a weekly preview of West Tennessee football featuring the JSUN sports team here on JacksonSun.com.
Hi everybody, welcome to Chalk Talk here at JacksonSun.com. This is Craig Thomas alongside the sports editor and high school football beat writer Brandon Shields. A lot of good games here to look forward to, high school football games in week 0. We're going to talk about some of the games outside Jackson this weekend. And we'll start with two towns that really love their high school football, and that's Milan and Lexington. That game will be at Lexington. What are you looking for from that game?
Well, first of all, not only do the towns love their high school football, but their high school football teams give the town something to love.
That's right.
Most years. So that's the good thing about this game. Milan and Lexington, first of all, let's talk about Lexington. I think Lexington is good enough this year coming in that you can make a case that this will be Milan's toughest game of the season. And that includes their play in District 13A, and that includes playing against CPA. I'm not necessarily saying Lexington will wind up better than all those teams, but I'm saying you can make a case for it. They're coming in, they've got a young backfield that was all really good last year. They're coming back this year, and they're coming back for a couple of years after this. So they kind of already know what they're doing. They didn't lose many seniors off last year's team. They had one of the biggest rosters in the area, but one of the smallest senior classes. It was weird. But so just about everybody is back. They did lose LaMarcus Bowles on the defensive line. He'll be a big loss for them on defense. But with as much depth as they have, they'll just plug somebody in there, and there'll be a bit of a drop off, but it won't be too bad. Milan coming back from last year's season where they didn't make the playoffs for the first time in 30 or 31 years. I've heard both numbers. Let's just say 3 decades. A lot of guys are coming back. A lot of guys with experience, just because a lot of the seniors got hurt last year. I have seen very few teams go through as much struggles with injuries as Milan's football team last year. There were other issues as well that caused younger guys to get some playing time that they normally wouldn't have, particularly with a program like Milan's. But we got all these young guys coming back, and they should provide some quality experience. This game was close last year, and by all accounts, you could say that Milan should have won this game. They had the ball for the entire third quarter. They just kind of got penalized, got knocked back from the on first and goal. On the one, a couple of penalties knocked it back to like first and goal on like the 30, and they didn't score, and then Lexington scored and wound up winning. So this is a very winnable game for Milan. Should be a good one. It's going to be a hard-hitting one, and there will probably be a ton of people there.
Yeah, I'm sure. Adamsville made it to the state finals last year, lost in the state championship game, had a great season. They're looking for another great season. They got an interesting game against a rival at Chester County this week. What are you looking for from that game?
Well, if you remember back to earlier in the summer when I did a countdown of top rivalries so far this century in West Tennessee, this one was number 3 on the list, Chester County and Adamsville. So that tells me that these games are going to be entertaining more times than not, no matter what. Coach Gray and Coach Hodem talked about just how both of them like to schedule each other at the beginning of the year to be a good test for each other. Adams will be in a 2A, Chester County be in a 4A. You know, you kind of wonder about the whole difference in classification, but it still works out. And usually the winner of this game usually goes on to see a good amount of success, but the loser winds up going to see success as well. I mean, 2 years in a row, Adamsville lost this game, then they didn't lose again until after Thanksgiving. But it's probably going to be a good game. A lot of athletes on both sides: Jacob Dingler, Ross Bertram, to name a couple on Adamsville, Sam Kessler, and Jarrett Wilson, to name a couple in Chester County. A lot of weapons on both sides of the ball for both teams. Should be a good one.
Bolivar will be at Crockett County. What should we look for out of Alamo?
The running game for both teams. If I weren't going to the Liberty-Henry County game, I would seriously consider going to this game simply to see Keon Crisp and Johnny Jones on the field. No matter who's got the ball, unless somebody's hurt or just taking a breather, there's going to be a good running back on the field. 2 of our best running backs in the area, and 2 of our super seniors. So that ought to be a good one to watch.
Mackenzie's a team that's had a rough couple of years trying to bring that glory back. They've been such a good program historically. They'll be at Trenton Peabody. What do you look for there?
A close game. This one's always close. Mackenzie probably should have won if it hadn't been for a couple of misplays here and there. that allowed Peabody to get the win to start the season last year. Coach Comer feels good about the team he's got coming back in McKenzie. A lot of good leadership there, maybe better than what he's had in the last couple of years. To hear him talk about it, different quarterback, Jake Server. He's going to take over under center and see how he can lead this offense to score a few more points. Peabody's going to have a different look on offense. Whereas they kind of thrown the ball with Braxton Bogus back there, quarterback. Well, he's at Bethel now, competing for that quarterback spot. Now they got Kendrick Malone at the quarterback spot, and whereas last year he was on the playing out at receiver, and he was a quick guy. Last year in that playoff game at TCA, he ran down a couple of TCA's fastest receivers to bring them down for tackles after they kind of got away from him there for a second. You give him the ball, every time you snap it, you can see a lot of points scored for Peabody this year.
Absolutely. And West Carroll at Humboldt, one other game we want to talk about. What do you anticipate out of that?
This is one where we're going to find out, hopefully we'll find out a good bit about both teams. Humboldt comes in, they were really good last year, but probably everybody except 2 or 3 guys that contributed to that good season all graduated. You got Troy Agnew back, you got Cornelius Watson back at running back. Agnew was at receiver. He'll play receiver this year, but he's going to line up some in the backfield as well. Be kind of interesting to see just kind of how they go, just how they do with a whole new breed of Vikings. West Carroll, they weren't that great last year, but Coach Josh Farnerbarger likes the work ethic, and he thinks he's got some skill on the team, but it's kind of younger. So just kind of how quickly that team can develop, we can possibly see West Carroll kind of back on the rise again.
All right, so lots of good city games, lots of good games out of the city. A few things we want to talk about. First of all, the social media. Make sure to like the Jackson Sun Sports Facebook page. We'll have scores and updates throughout Friday night and every Friday night. Twitter, JS Editor Brandon, he's got updates from all the games. And then the other thing we want you to do, no matter where you're going Friday night, Friday morning, check this thing out. This is the Kickoff Football tab. A lot of people have been asking us about this. A ton of work goes into it, and there's a lot of good stuff. We got all the 32 teams in our coverage area with rosters, with quotes from coaches and players. A lot of good insight from those guys that have been there kind of throughout the summer and all the off-season stuff. And you can kind of learn about the team you support, and also learn about some of the teams we be playing. So that's definitely something to get and keep and kind of look at every week going into your team's games. So we hope you enjoy this week and all the weeks to come of high school football coverage, and make sure to stick with us, the Jackson Sun, for all your coverage needs throughout the year.